Welcome to this next module about rebranding. When I talk about rebranding, I'm thinking of the fact that in many cases in life, it can become very unpredictable. So we may have to, in some terms or times, make pivots in order to continue on the journey to purpose. So when I think of rebranding, I'm thinking of not only as in a career, but even sometimes as an entrepreneur. So let's start with the career rebranding. So even as we are dealing with one of the most unprecedented times in the world, around the world, many individuals have been put in a position where they've had to stop and think and possibly pivot. What do I mean by that? Either it has been some cases voluntary and in other cases involuntary. Even when I think about my own personal journey, there have been multiple times where I had to make a decision based on where I was and where I wanted to be and decide, is this really the direction I want to continue in, or is this a direction that I need to leave and abandon? I will honestly say somebody, and I think I've heard this some time ago, they refer to this as what's called the strategic inflection point. It's almost like a crossroad when you have to make that decision. So rebranding yourself is critical. So what is one of the first ways that you can consider when you want to rebrand yourself? Adaptability. Adaptability is key because why? You have to understand that and be in a frame of mind that things may not be what you're used to having them be. What do I mean by that? Classic example. Right now we're all, once again, experiencing COVID-19 at different levels based on where we live in the world. And many of us are in a situation where we are forced to now work in a remote environment. So what did that take? That took a deeper sense of adaptability than on a normal basis. Why? I'm now creating an office in one of my rooms in my home. I'm now also reimagining what it looks like to be doing business, whether it be teaching, whether it be speaking at a conference that's online, whether it be negotiating, having an interview. Although we are pretty much in a situation where a lot of us have made the transition, but it definitely has taken a level of adaptability to do that. When I also think of rebranding as it relates to a career change, number one, that in and of itself, if you are in a situation where you have to make a change in your career, then that in and of itself is a huge feat, an undertaking. Going from one set of skills to another, the usage of another, I want you to consider also the other aspect of flexibility. So adaptability is one component, but flexibility. Expect anything to happen, right? Even with working remotely, when you think of the hundreds of thousands of people that are currently working online, whether it be teaching classes, whether it be in meetings, as I said it before, whether it be hosting events, it's now what's considered a new normal. And so many individuals have now become more tech savvy, I would say. I even honestly can look at my own skill set, although I was always using technology, but now I have grown. But at first it wasn't easy, right? It was a struggle. So overcoming the struggle and having that mindset that A, I'm going to be adaptable, B, I'm going to be flexible. And the third thing is understanding that there's no reason to maintain fear, right? Why would we be afraid of something that we cannot control? Most times, I like to use the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real, right? Many times our fears are not really fears. It's just baseless based on the fact that we just have not come into a situation where we've experienced this or that thing before. So many times when you think of fear, another term I've heard people use is false evidence appearing real. But I love my acronym for fear now is face everything and rise, right? And that's what you have to have when you are in a situation where you're forced to rebrand what you are doing. So adaptability, flexibility, and I would add this one, positivity. How you approach every situation on a day-to-day basis is critical as far as how the outcome will be. There's a term that we often hear of, and I'm working on planning some training for it. It's called mastering your mindset. So how you see it truly determines how you see it, right? How you see it determines how you see it. Think of that. So how you choose to see things and how you will ultimately determine how you manage the situation, whether it be positive, and also your mindset ultimately impacts the outcome of the situation. So I'm a firm believer that no matter what happens in any situation, you can always take a positive position. There's a term that we've used and heard so much about the glass being half empty and the glass being half full. Ultimately, it's how you see it. It's ultimately how you see it. And some people don't even see a glass. They feel there's no limitation. So I would encourage you, if you are in a situation where you are forced to rebrand yourself during this time, just know that it's not something that's new either. It's been done before, time and time again. And also the aspect of rebranding, I also want to think of is the fact that it's evolutionary. What do I mean by that? Even though we may understand our purpose and we may have a brand, at some point there will be a pivot and a change to what you are doing in your life. With that said, I think I alluded to him in another part of this training today, Michael Jordan. When I think of Michael Jordan, of course, he started out as one of the world's greatest athletes. And ultimately, what did he do? Over time, he migrated and evolved into mentorship, and also putting himself in the position of ownership, right, of teams and sports team, and even most recently, purchasing unprecedentedly a race car team. So with that said, although he was the greatest player of all time, when he was in the situation of playing for the Bulls, Chicago Bulls, he ultimately evolved as time went on. So what I would say to you is, don't be afraid to evolve, right? When it comes to rebranding, a part of that is evolutionary. It's important to understand that you will never stay in the same spot. And it's okay. It's actually okay to make those pivots. Ultimately, the last thing I would discuss is potential. It's part of your purpose. Your potential is always impacted when you rebrand. What do I mean by it's impacted? I mean from the factor that I believe personally that each time you choose to make steps to do something that you've never done before, you are actually living out your potential and stretching yourself. Because why? You're now doing things that you did not necessarily believe you can do before you did them. And now you can see that, guess what? I actually have the power. It was already inside of me. What was I afraid of? All I had to do was put one foot in front of the other, make the steps. And in some cases, if I needed help, I could ask for the help. And that is clearly the path that has to be taken when rebranding. So once again, maintaining a level of adaptability, maintaining a level of flexibility, of course, maintaining positivity, and understanding that there are pivots involved that cause you to evolve and into another area that may not be familiar, but ultimately knowing that you have the power inside of you to meet the expectations based on the fact that there is so much potential inside. So I will close with this term from one of my favorite speakers of all time, Dr. Miles Monroe. And I will never forget one of his most famous quotes about always dying empty. So not that we're looking in the morbid sense of dying, but what he means by that is never leave this world without having fulfilled all the things in this life that you were potentially able to do just because you were gripped with fear. So that is my conclusion on why it's important to be able to rebrand yourself during these difficult times.